And in our daily discussion of Bhagavad Gita, so yesterday I was telling you further, like day for yesterday we discussed the 3.9, and then because 10 onwards the yoga ladder is explained. So I was talking yesterday about the summarized way of yoga ladder. So in continuation with that, I said yesterday that we will discuss, like yesterday we discussed one of the purport from Srila Prabhupada from Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you have not heard yesterday's, actually yesterday whatever I was explaining, that was quite important to understand future few classes. So if you have not heard that, you can go in the recording and hear, or if you don't have that much time, I think yesterday it was like 25-minute class. So if you don't have facility or time to hear the full recording, you can at least go to the Canto 2nd, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, text number 3rd and 4th purport. Okay, so there you will get some more idea. And yesterday we were reading from that purport. And if you have time, you can go and hear yesterday's recording. So I am just continuing from yesterday only. So Prabhupada ji mentions in one of the purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19.149 that only a devotee can become nishkama, desireless. So we were discussing about that point yesterday. So if one understands Krishna, he immediately becomes desireless, niskama. Because a Krishna Bhakta knows that his friend and protector in all respects is Krishna, who is able to do anything for his devotee. A devotee knows that for me Krishna is there and he can do anything for me. Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranishyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So since Krishna gives his assurance, the devotee lives in Krishna and has no desire for personal benefit. Prabhupada is saying that for him, for a devotee, he don't have any personal desire. He just have everything he do for Krishna's pleasure. Okay. So since so the background for the devotee is the all good himself. Why should the devotee aspire for something good for himself? Because when Krishna is there for him, so Krishna will definitely do everything good for a devotee. Then why devotee should think about his welfare? No. His only business, whose? Devotee's only business is to please the Supreme by rendering service as much as possible. So he will not think, a devotee will not, niskam means desireless, means he is desireless. Why? Because he has Krishna. So when a person has Krishna, why he will have any other desire? Okay, no need to desire anything, because desire means for our welfare. So no need to desire anything for our welfare because Krishna is there. Okay. So, why should a devotee aspire for something good for himself? His only business is to please the Supreme by rendering service. So, what he does is, as much as possible, a devotee tries to serve Krishna. So, his only desire, if at all desire, he has what desire? That he wants to serve Krishna. He don't have any desire for his welfare. Okay, so becoming desireless is difficult, but desiring for the satisfaction and pleasure of Krishna, that is wonderful thing. So a Krishna Bhakta has no desire for a Krishna Bhakta. Prabhupada is writing that a Krishna Bhakta has no desire for his own personal benefit. This is a very tricky thing, but very simple. Point is to become desireless. But how you will become desireless? Saying that don't desire for sense gratification. Don't desire. That means stop the desire. But stopping desire is very difficult. You cannot even think. See, I want to take food. That's a desire. I want to sleep. That's desire. I want to speak. Desire. I want to drink water. It's desire. All things are desire. Small desire. So many desires. We don't even know how many desires we are getting inside in our mind. So you cannot become desireless. So what is the solution? Desire for satisfaction of Krishna. So it is double benefit. You are not only stopping that desire for sense gratification, but you are actually desiring for Krishna's satisfaction. So if you can stop the desire, that is good. That is the first step. But second level of success is that you are desiring for Krishna. So Krishna Bhakta has no desire for his own personal benefit. He is completely protected by Supreme. So no desire for his personal benefit. He is completely protected by the Supreme. Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palan. We can note down this line. Avashya Rakshive Krishna. Okay, Krishna will definitely protect me. Bhakti we know that. So this is the important thing, that Avashya Rakshive Krishna. We can remember that yes, Krishna will definitely protect me. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that he is desireless because Krishna will give him protection in all circumstances. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is saying that Krishna will definitely protect me. No problem. He has that Vishwasa Palan. He has that Vishwasa. So it is not that he expects any assistance from Krishna. He simply depends on Krishna just as a child depends on his parents. It's not like, okay, Krishna will protect me, so I am bindas. So Krishna is no. He is depending on Krishna in what way? The way a child is depending on his father. So the child does not know how to expect service from his parents. Child does not know how to expect service from his parents, but he is always protected nevertheless. This is called niskama, desirelessness. Okay. So this is very wonderful example given by Srila Prabhupada, that a child does not have that idea that I want to take service from them, but he is depending on parents. So similarly, a devotee is depending upon Krishna. Although karmis, jnanis and yogis fulfill their desires by performing various activities, they are never satisfied. Sakal ashant, Krishna bhakta niskam ateva sant. So a karmi may work very hard to require $1 million. Karmi, they want so much for sense gratification. So a karmi can work very hard and earn millions of dollars. But as soon as he gets $1 million, he desires another $1 million. So for the karmis, there is no end of desire. Okay. He wanted to become engineer, then he wanted to become manager, then he wanted to become boss, then CEO, then company head, director, whatever. So my karmis don't have, there is no end for desire of karmi. So the more the karmi gets, the more he desires. How much we get, that much desire will develop. That is karmi. But about jnanis, the jnanis cannot be desireless because their intelligence is unsound. They want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, but even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. So there are many jnanis or sannyasis who give up the world as false, but after taking sannyas, they return to the world to engage in politics or philanthropy or to open schools and hospitals. So they will come back. Okay. So the jnani is also not very good path. So this means that they could not attain the real Brahman, Brahma Satyam, they could not attain. They have to come down to the material platform to engage in philanthropic activity because they were doing so many nice things. So next birth they become like this. Okay, but they could not reach Brahma Satyam, that effulgence. They did not reach there. So thus they again cultivate desires, and when these desires are exhausted, they desire something different. Therefore, the jnani cannot be niskama. That means desireless. So karmi cannot become desireless. Jnanis also cannot become desireless. Nor can the yogis be desireless, for they desire yogic perfection in order to exhibit some magical feats and gain popularity. Ashtasiddhi. So people gather around these yogis, and the yogis desire more and more adulation. So because they misuse their mystic power, they fall down again onto the material platform. It is not possible for them to become niskam or desireless because they are desiring for big mystic powers, ashtasiddhis. So they also cannot become desireless. The conclusion is that okay. So Prabhupada ji is saying that the conclusion is that only the devotees who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord. Who? The devotee who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord, not only serving, but they are satisfied in serving the Lord, can actually become desireless. Therefore it is written, Krishna Bhakta Niskam. Since the Krishna Bhakta, the devotee of Krishna, is satisfied with Krishna, there is no possibility of fall down. So that is also another thing. If a devotee is satisfied with Krishna, then he will never fall down. But if he is not getting satisfied with Krishna, that means he is still looking some another option in Maya. So he will go to Maya. Thus, by studying Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is now, like Prabhupada is giving so many purports in the Bhagavad Gita. So if we understand and we read and understand this Bhagavad Gita as it is, then we will not be bewildered. And we will not make any mistakes in this step-by-step yoga ladder. So Srila Prabhupada mercifully revealed Krishna's ultimate desire for the conditioned soul. But the jiva like me, Krishna, we don't know what is the desire of Krishna for me. So Srila Prabhupada revealed that desire for the conditioned soul. What is that? What is Krishna's desire? What Krishna wants from us? So we all go for God. We go temple, God, Krishna, Rama, you give me this, you give me this, you give me this. We go and express our desire to God or to Krishna. But did we ever think what is Krishna's desire, what Krishna wants from us? I want. We are going to temple and saying, Krishna, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want, that's all. But first of all, we should go and ask Krishna, what you want from us? So that Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, and that Srila Prabhupada revealed us. What is that? Sarva dharmana parityajyam mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyam mokshishyaimi masya manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namasu. So this one is Krishna's desire. Krishna is saying that abandon all forms of religion and surrender unto me. So why should we remain incomplete, fixed at one level of the elaborate Vedic system, when we can achieve the system's full purpose by the simply easy step of surrender to Krishna? So why only this small? We do full practice now. So by this Bhagavad Gita, like the way Prabhupada presented, Srila Prabhupada's commentary is clearly giving a right understanding that the Lord's devotee is even more merciful than the Lord himself. Okay, so this is the thing, that only a devotee will be peaceful because he is desireless. He don't desire anything. Others, whether they are jnani, karmi or yogi, karmi, jnani, yogi, all three are having desire, so they will not be peaceful and they can never become desireless. Who can become desireless? Pure devotee. Why? Because he has only desire to serve Krishna, no desire for his own welfare. Okay, that's the point. Okay, so that was the section here, and now this yoga ladder. So first is like karma kanda, then there is sakam karma yoga, then niskam karma yoga, then jnana yoga, then ashtanga yoga, then bhakti yoga. Okay. Okay, so this so I'll just tell you something in summarized way, whatever we explained yesterday and today, and then tomorrow I will show you the chart also. So karma kanda process is the first level. Okay, first, like downmost is animalistic life. Okay. So the downmost is animalistic life, then karma kanda. Okay. So in karma kanda, it is encouraged for some regulated way of sense gratification, and it is meant for general public, mass of general common people. Why? So that they can be at least they can be engaged in some kind of religious activities. Okay, and this karma kanda, if they follow, they are purified in many ways. Like these rules and regulations of karma kanda brings detachment with which fosters knowledge. Okay, so detachment will come, then gradually Vedas expose him to jnana and upasana. So he is elevated na, so he will understand this next level of jnana and upasana, and then result of yajna gives him faith in shastras and motivates him to associate with brahmanas who give higher knowledge. Okay, so gradually the practitioner finds the futility of material life and makes transcendence as his goal. Okay, so that is the karma kanda. Somehow or other he will follow the rules and regulation, and these rules and regulation purify him, and then he progress further. Okay, and then the next is the sakam karma yoga. There person understands the transcendence as the goal. He understands what is the real goal, but because then he tries to renounce the fruits of his work, but attachment to material desire still is there. And in the Niskam Karma Yoga, he gives up the attachment to the fruits of work, but is still attached to the work itself. He gives up, he renounced the result of the work, but he is still attached to the work itself. Okay, not to the work's result, but to the work itself. And in the Jnana Yoga, this is the philosophical inquiry level, and here people are detached from both action and the fruit of action. Both action and the fruit of action. And Ashtanga Yoga, when Jnana Yoga elevate to the point of meditation. Okay, so this the next stage. And then Bhakti Yoga can permeate any of the stages mentioned above other than Karma Kanda, but generally does not fully manifest before the deep realization elevated to at the Jnana stage. Bahunam janmanamante jnanamamma prapadyate vasudev sarvamiti samahatma suddurlabha. So it is said that actually bhakti is a direct process. Okay. So in animal life, unrestricted sense gratification; in karma kanda, regulated sense gratification; in sakam karma yoga, devotees with material desires, selfish; and niskam karma yoga or sadhana bhakti, devotees with no desires for personal interest, selfless. And then is the bhav bhakti and prem bhakti. So that is the yoga ladder. So animal life, karma kanda, sakam karma yoga, niskam karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. This is the yoga ladder. Okay. So now 3.10. So in 3.10 Lord Krishna has in this next section 3.10 to 16, this is the third section of this third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So here Lord Krishna has designed the material world to encourage sacrifice. He does this by making material advancement dependent upon yajna. By worshipping the Lord for material well-being, one becomes purified and advanced. Okay, this karma kanda to karma yoga, how a person will move. So that will be explained in this 6 or 7 shlokas. Okay. Okay, so now I am planning to start. Okay, let me see. Chapter 10, shloka number 10. Okay, so only 7-8 minutes are there. So if you have any question, you can ask, because this 10th shloka, its purport is quite big. So better we start it tomorrow. So in between, if you have any question, you can ask.